Welcome to the Regenerative podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Griggs. Visit www.theregenesancec.co to learn more. Jeremiah and Jason from SeasonsATX. I was
local
just
pastures.
Just before this, I was writing a blog.
We love local pastures.
We do. They're our friends.
Well, right before this, I was writing a blog on resources for finding farms and maps, and one of them was Local Harvest. And now, my brain's all fried from that.
The beekeepers? Local Harvest, the beekeepers?
No, so Local Harvest is an organization to where they just have different farm maps and like CSAs and things like that. So that's another thing I've been trying to compile together. So it's actually great. It can just segue into this conversation. I'm working on a blog for Regenerative for just all kinds of resources, trying to make it as beneficial as possible. For example, say we have a friend who starts learning about regenerative agriculture and health and, really starts getting the wheels turning in their head and want to learn more. And so I want to provide something to where they can just go to that, learn more on regenerative agriculture, learn more on the food system, but then also take the next step of, okay, where can I buy local food? What questions should I be asking and all of that? So I guess, that's a great segue into SeasonsATX. If you want to explain that and then just introduce yourselves as well.
Sure. Well, first of all, that's amazing what you're doing because I feel like people need some sort of orientation into this realm. There's so much information, misinformation, and to have a place that someone can just land and get oriented into the realms of real food and real health is super needed. So props. I'm looking forward to sharing that with some people that I know are earlier on in their journey. But to start, just thanks for having us. This is our first podcast. We've been fighting the good fight locally. SeasonsATX is a local farm-to-table food company. And so we partner with a bunch of really awesome local farms in the area that we have personal relationships with. And we prepare their ingredients in a super artisanal, intentional way. We make pretty much everything from scratch. We don't use any seed oils. We render a lot of our own fats, our own tallows. We use a lot of fresh herbs. Jason's the chef, so he'll kind of dive more into that. But then we package all of the food in reusable glass jars. So we operate kind of like the milkman, where we make all of this great food. We deliver it directly to your door once a week. You get to eat that food throughout the week. And then the next week we come back, we pick up the empty glass jars, the empty cooler bag, and then we drop off new ones.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. The intention is just to really take the best ingredients we can find from the best producers and, pay that care forward,
Yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. We're in our first year. And there's really, I'm not, in Austin at least, I'm not seeing anybody else doing this yet. And it just felt like something that personally I needed, that I wanted. You go to a grocery store and, you're looking at the eggs and it's like cage free, it's like free range, it's like pasture raised, it's like all of these things. You go to the meat section, you see like grass fed, but then you look at where the grass fed is coming from and it's coming from Argentina. And then you're like trying to get the produce and it's like organic, but it's from who knows where. And it just felt like way more complicated than it needed to be. There's all of these farmers who are our neighbors who are growing all of this food. And so the question is like, why wouldn't we just be eating the food from our local farmers? And why is this so complicated? Of course, there are farmers markets, but those farmers markets, it's challenging. You got to kind of arrange your life. Okay, my Saturday, I go to Boggy Creek Farmers Market, or my Sunday, I go to Mueller Farmers Market. Like that's what I do. And if you don't do that, if you don't get that, or if you're traveling, or if that's just not how you like to arrange your weekend, then there's just not a lot of great options for you to actually be sourcing locally. And also a lot of people, they have the values, but they don't necessarily have the time to actually put in the research, to work with the local farms, to get the food. And so we kind of do all of that for you, where We build the relationships, we prep the food, and then we just deliver it directly to your door so that you don't have to think so hard on it, at least.
You bring up two really great points. The first one on farmers markets, it's a very, it's an interesting thing because, so I worked on a farm a couple years ago and they did farmers markets Thursday to Sunday. And pretty much right off the bat, I became the farmers market guy and I did all 4 of them for them. And there's a lot of great things about farmers markets, but there's so many downsides, and it's especially for the farmers themselves. It's weather dependent. So say it rains or snows or whatnot, your sales are going to tank. Because there are so many times to where I did farmers markets and it's just pouring down rain and you're just getting soaked, trying to not get your produce and food soaked. Meanwhile, you're obviously not getting any sales. And for some farmers and ranchers, that's a lot of their income to really sustain themselves. Number 2, like you're saying, with the traveling aspect can be very challenging too, because it's very dependent upon how many people show up and how many people actually, support you. And that's very challenging in itself, because there's a lot of folks that go there and, ask all these questions and take some time from the farmers, but then they don't even support or anything. And it's a very great introduction for folks that are so disconnected. Like me, for example, my first 27 years, I only went to the grocery store. So a farmer's market in that way is incredible. But this is why I'm so glad that there's folks such as yourself, because there needs to be as many touch points that are frictionless as possible for the end consumer, or else it's not going to change. Because we are lazy in a lot of ways, but in America at least, like you said, there might not have time. There's so many other reasons as to why people can't really support. So what you guys are doing, that's just another great way, because it makes me think about the milkman too in a lot of ways. Seeing the old pictures of that, she's like, dang, that would have been so cool to see that.
I mean, at the end of the day, everything goes in the direction of money, right? So there's all kinds of beautiful philosophical reasons to be into this, into these things and do what we do and do what you do. But really what's going to move the needle is pushing money in the direction of people that are doing things the right way.
I agree.
So the bottom line is that's the focus.
And I think it's never going to change unless that does happen. Because that's what I continue to preach is, look, if you want the food system to change, you got to understand that you, the consumer, with the money that you spend, that's how it's going to change. And nothing else, in my opinion.
Yeah. And now being a local business owner, like, our margins are tight. It's going to take a while for us to become profitable, and it's going to take a lot of support from the local community to make this happen. And it's really changing and giving me a new insight into, it's changing my perspective and my understanding of how important it is that we support local. Like, every purchase that we make is either a vote towards a more local, sustainable economy or against it. It's that simple. Like, it is pretty much somewhat black or white in that way. Like, right now, these shoes, I have had these Birkenstocks for a while, these boots, and I have this big tear in my seam. And I need to buy like some shoe glue or something, but I saw maybe like 2 months ago that there was this local shoe repair store. And I was like, I want to go there. Like, there's probably a man working there who knows how to repair shoes. And I could in the last 2 months, I could have bought shoe glue from Amazon. And I've thought about it. I'm like, I really should, need to get this repaired. But I was like, you know what? Like, that local shoe repairman needs my business. So I've been pretty busy and I've not made it out there, but I'm waiting. I could make that $10 purchase on Amazon, but no, I'm like, we need to support local businesses. Every dollar that we spend is a vote for or against them. So my shoe's still kind of messed up, but I will make it to this local shoe repair person soon. And that's like one way that we can do our part. There's like sometimes it feels like we're up against these massive giants, right? These like corporate beasts and political beasts. And we are.
We are, absolutely.
We totally are. And like, we can do pretty small things daily or weekly that actually that does help move the dial towards a more local and sustainable economy, not just with food, but with all of our purchases.
I guess my next question just would be for both of y'all's backgrounds, just talking a little bit about just yourself. Like, for example, with you being a chef, I would love to hear just your journey through all of that and what's led you to it here. Because I know before this podcast started, we were talking a little bit and you were mentioning just how through the years now, thinking about sourcing and the actual qualities of the food and whatnot. So I'd just love to hear a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the whole like farm to table has become such a buzz term. But it hasn't always been that way in the States, especially. Chefs, we order food and it shows up at the door, and then your only real focus is it okay to use, or is it good enough to use? Is it the quality you want, and what am I going to do with it, right? So I think the trend over the last, I don't even know, probably, this century for sure, like about where your food is coming from, how it's being produced, who's producing it, just is that level of awareness, because in Europe and all of the older countries of the world, like everything's very regional, everything's very produced locally. People take a lot of pride in that kind of stuff, and that wasn't a thing here. So I think the arc of a lot of chefs has been, especially if they're a little bit older, like me, that didn't start out in the sort of farm to table movement, has been to, really start focusing on, where and how their ingredients are produced. So it's a good thing. I mean, everything we can do moves the needle a little bit. So, and chefs really should lead the way, right? Like we really should be at the forefront of this movement, because, chefs are on TV now, chefs are, restaurants are popular, chefs are in the media. It really is, we should be the ones leading the way in this movement.
Was there something that, I guess, how did you start thinking about the farm to table? Was there like a talk or something that you experienced?
It was kind of just in the ether of the restaurant world, more and more over time. But it culminated for me. I had a restaurant in Nantucket Island in Massachusetts, and went into it with the intent of just being as high, and there was only like one farm on the island. And so, but we went into that with the intent of being hyper focused on local, which really ended up being regional. But it was hard. It's hard, right? And we were getting all of our cheese from Vermont, and we're lucky enough to have a farm just off island on Cape Cod that we were working with. And it was to the point where I didn't even know necessarily what I was getting for product a lot of days. Boxes would show up at my door with surprises, and we were rewriting the menu every day. And so, it's difficult, but like that was exciting for me, and really getting to know the people that were producing the food was really special. So that was really the point. From that point on, it was really how I wanted to focus.
Yeah.
It brings up a good point, because consumers, and I've been there, we tend to have these expectations that we can eat whatever we want, whenever we want it. And that is not supporting our local food economy, because food is not growing locally all of the time. Like all foods are not growing locally all of the time. And so it's super cool. Like this, right when I heard that you had this experience running this farm to table restaurant on Nantucket Island, I was like, yes, like I want you to be, I want to be partners with you. Like I want to do this with you, because I knew that you got and like understood a different paradigm where things can be hyper local, and where, as a chef, you can't just settle into, well, this is our menu for the year and we source from Cisco and it just comes in whenever. It's like, clearly you have the experience of working on your toes and of working with a sort of awareness and sensitivity to what's growing right now. And so as consumers, I would love to see like us kind of shift the way we're thinking and being like, what is available right now? And how can I make that work for me? Instead of like, well, I want a pineapple and it's in the middle of the winter and that's going to have to be flown from around the world. For me, let's see, food has always been a massive part of my own health journey. I've just intuitively known that what's going in should be clean. And I should not put a bunch of garbage into my body. I was just pretty blessed that early on in my later teens, I started studying Buddhism. I started meditating a lot. I started getting a lot more centered and clearing out just a lot of the distractions of the world and getting more in touch with more of a holistic sense of health. And I always was a part of, member of a local food co-ops. And even when I had very, very little money, it's I would still do my best just to buy organic produce and organic foods. Consumer packaged goods, bags of chips and other things, that's really a lot of the time where your grocery bill starts getting really high. All of those things that are offering pretty minimal nutritional value, but it's a product and it's processed and it tastes good in the moment. And that's kind of what I see. That's when my grocery bill starts to really rack up. But if you're just buying raw food, you can keep your bill relatively low. So in college, I really had three main focuses. It was entrepreneurship, environmental studies and conservation, and art. And those three were always sort of, I was always looking at how I could weave those together. One class of mine by Professor Tom Eggert, it really opened my eyes. It was an environmental business class. And he told us he said, look, there's a lot of environmental initiatives. There's a lot that we could do. There's a lot of talking that we could do, with green people and tree huggers and all of the like. But if we just look at the numbers, the largest distributor of organic foods is Walmart. And it was so this big business. And he said, if a business like Walmart changes their standards just a little bit, if they say, actually, to supply to us, you need to be not using glyphosate, for example, the entire market would shift, because there's so much purchasing power that a business like Walmart has. And so that really started just turning my wheels of the power and the potential of business, conscious business, to make big shifts in the world. And I was also a friend of mine, Alana McKeever. She had started something called the Ethical and Responsible Business Network, Urban, and I was a part of it. And it was just a student org, and we were consulting businesses, learning about them, teaching them how they could be a little more green, a little more environmentally friendly. 10 years later now, she lives in Austin, and she is one of our advisors, which is just a cool kind of
that's awesome
full circle moment. And then there's this art piece too. So I was in the business school, but the business school it felt soulless to me. I was like, this feels terrible. There's so much competition, even amongst my peers. I felt like I just felt dead inside of those classes, and there was something seriously missing. And then that really, so I had this kind of early existential life crisis. I was like, what is going on? This world is crazy. And there's something missing here. I was going to drop out of school and move to Thailand. I was working for this tech startup, and I was on this entrepreneurial scholarship, and I ended up just quitting that job and driving out west, and just going on this solo road trip for the whole summer, really. Spent a lot of time alone in the backcountry, in the Rockies, making it to California, to Big Sur, just learning and just kind of clearing away all just the conditioning and the chaos of society and social media and all of that, and just getting more centered. I came back, didn't move to Thailand, finished my degree, took all art classes though, but it was able to finish my last semester of college in Italy. And Italy, like you mentioned, Europe, they have so much pride for their food. You go to a market and you can't even touch the food. The farmer's like, whoa. I will pick it for you. That is my hard-earned fig. It will be yours when you buy it, but it was amazing. Just the pride that they had. The food, a tomato in Italy, the flavor, the redness, the sweetness, because their soil, it has not been factory farmed.
Yep.
It is so rich. And what I was so amazed at in Italy is they live seasonally because it's small. It's not as centralized. There aren't all of these massive Walmarts, for example. So, when it's grape season, there's grapes on everything. And then the grapes are done. And then there's no more grapes. And then the chestnuts are falling from the trees. So everything then has chestnuts on it. They're grinding the chestnuts. They're making the chestnuts into flour. The flour is being used in all the bakeries. So there's this like month of chestnut. And then the chestnuts are gone. And then it's persimmon. The persimmons are out. And boom, we're all eating persimmons. And then boom, figs, and all of this, like there was just this natural rhythm that I had never experienced before. It was like everybody's on the same wavelength around food, and also just in the understanding that there are cycles to nature. And so, long story short, I come back and really, 10 years after being in the ethical and responsible business network and going on a long journey of my own, really like soul searching inward journey of what is the meaning of life? I'm praying to God, to life, the universe, just like to Mother Earth. I'm ready now. I wasn't ready then to start a business, but I'm ready now to do something that's really of service and that can really make a difference. And I was like, please just, just give me a vision, like just show me what it is. Like I will give my all to this cause, if you can give me the purpose. And I was at an art fair and I was deep in this prayer. This prayer was like just happening, kind of ongoing in my life. And I received it was just like a download. I received the whole vision of Seasons. And I didn't know the name yet, but the energy was rhythms of nature. Just like in Italy, they were all in the same wavelength, in the same rhythm, from chestnuts to persimmons to dates to figs. And I saw community gathered around food, around local food, around breaking bread. I saw these glass jars just as sort of a symbol of regeneration, of recycling, of doing the right thing, and of not being wasteful. And then I thought, I have no idea how I'm going to start that. How would I possibly start a community cafe, a food business, all of this? And I had I was in a men's group, I still am, that was incredibly supportive. They jokingly say that they midwifed Seasons. And I was like, guys, I pitched them on this idea.
We got connected through the men's
We
group.
did get connected through the men's group. You're right.
Yeah.
Wow.
They are your midwife.
They're yeah, wow. And I pitched them on this idea, and I knew I just nailed the pitch. I was like, guys, I'm so excited about this idea. And they're like, that's amazing. And I was like, but I have no money and I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I feel like I'm just going to have to sell solar panels for a couple of years to save up the money. And they were like, I just saw their spirits, their hearts and their joy for me just fade. They were like, oh man, you're not going to start it now. What do you mean? You just pitched us on this amazing, we already see the vision. And I did that intentionally because I wanted to plant the seed, and I also knew I needed support, and I genuinely did not know how I was going to start this. And through a lot of support, but some just very pointed questions that they asked me, what stories are you telling yourself for why this is not possible right now? Spend a few days just writing those stories down and asking yourself, are they really true? And then what have you not done that you could do right now to start this business, to bring this closer, to take it from arm's length and actually say, no, I'm doing this right now. And then that next week, I just did everything that I could. I deconstructed a lot of those stories and came to, basically the simplest version of the business model, which is meal delivery. That's going to require the least amount of capital to start. We can source directly from local farms. We could cook awesome food. We could serve it in glass jars. We can deliver it to people, and then we can grow from there. And that's what we've done. We're still in phase 1 of that meal delivery version of the company, and there's much more to come.
So whenever you started that and then began essentially the phase of outreach to farms and ranches, I'm just curious, what was that like?
Farmers markets.
Yep.
That was where it was started. I used to live I'm not from California. I'm from Illinois, lived in Wisconsin, Colorado, and then California. And when my friends would see me at at a farmer's market in California, I'd go to the Calabasas market. They would often joke that they felt like I was the mayor of the farmer's market because I would go there and I just knew everybody. I was like, like Jan with the soaps and, this person with the mulberries and, I just like loved having these relationships. And like, if I needed soap and it was a Wednesday, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to wait until Saturday because I for sure want to support Jan with the soaps, at the market. And so I went to the farmer's market, various farmer's markets in Austin, and I just started talking to them about, hey, can you sell wholesale? Do you sell to restaurants? And when I started Seasons, I thought we were going to be completely organic and completely local. I didn't know any better. I thought organic is like the highest standard. So it needs to be 100% organic and 100% local. And I was at these farmers markets and I was noticing all of these awesome farmers that I just talked to, the vast majority of them are not certified organic. So then I'm stuck with this dilemma, like, if I want to be 100% organic, I essentially can't work with any of these farmers. And there's something that like really didn't sit right with me in that because I just talked to that farmer exactly about their practices and I stand behind what they're doing. I would happily eat the food that they're doing.
Yeah.
And that organic label then I couldn't put on the food, but and then if I wanted to get that organic, I would have to source outside of Texas. And then it's like that's not quite aligned. And so this is where the education piece I think is massive for us. We got to communicate. Some people are still thinking, organic above all else, but we would say actually like local above all else. And then, but the local that we're sourcing from are farms that really care, that really take care of their soil. And they're not spraying a bunch of stuff, but maybe they can't jump through all the hoops of the organic certifications, or maybe in some ways they just can't afford to be certified at this time.
Yeah, I mean, the meaning of organic is, it's put forth by the FDA, which is loaded up with food company executives.
Yeah.
So like, there's another conversation there, but it also doesn't mean that it's pesticide free. So it's true that like local is the number one. Just getting the food that's closest to you, I think is the best. And if a farmer certified organic, bonus, and regenerative, even better, right? So
yeah, that's what's interesting about labels in particular, especially with organic, or I mean, for the longest time, beef that said USA beef, but it was from Argentina or Brazil or Australia. Same with organic, because I think the first time I met you, Jeremiah, the farm I worked on, it wasn't certified organic, but it was an absolutely organic operation. I mean, I worked on the farm, so I saw everything they did. And that's also why it's imperative to ask questions to farmers and ranchers, because it might not say certified organic, but if you ask questions and realize, this is a legit spot that I should absolutely be supporting. And I'm glad that you just mentioned just how much you love talking to the folks at farmers markets, because I mean, to me, agriculture saved my life in so many ways, and that's because the people themselves are just salt of the earth, incredible people. And that's why I'm so passionate about this, is majority of America does not have this realization. They, like myself, go to a grocery store, expect everything to be fully stocked, doesn't matter the season, and then you go home and you're nowhere near a farm or a ranch.
I mean, Americans, we like to dictate things, right?
Yeah.
Like including the cycles of nature. Like we don't need nature to tell us what we can have when we can have it, right? Like, I mean, we invented factory farming, right?
Yeah.
So we don't need the soil to be healthy. We'll put chemicals on it and force things to grow, right? We don't need to grow multiple crops in one area so that to keep things healthy and regenerating. We're just going to grow one thing and force it to grow all the time until the soil is so depleted, we just have to move on to another piece of land.
Yeah.
Right.
That is the one downside. I'm a huge capitalist, but that is the one downside, especially in America. I mean, a lot of it's crony capitalism, but the whole focus is just maximizing yields, maximizing profits, and maximizing efficiency. And then that's what happens in a system with food. like you were saying with factory farming. But yeah, I'll just end with that. It's very challenging. I mean, we talk about the economics. Actually, this could be a good topic too with Seasons too. The economics of food is so distorted because of subsidies with the commodity crops. And so when we see, say with beef, a $15 pound regenerative grass-fed and finished beef versus, I don't know, $6 pound grain-finished factory farmed beef, we don't understand the economics of it all. Or like raw milk actually is the best example for that, because I share so much online about raw milk, and the whole culture shift is definitely happening with raw milk. But then there's so many comments about the pricing of raw milk, why I have to pay $16 a gallon and have to drive an hour. Like, there's a reason for that. This is also why I'm so focused on education, is because the government, USDA, FDA, they do that for a reason.
Prices are artificially low.
Yeah, and then it's just the markets, with the laws with raw dairy and the permits the folks have to have. You can't sell in stores. Obviously, it's illegal in a lot of states. There's so many hoops you've got to jump to, saying it, label it as pet food, paired with just the industrial ag and big dairy. I mean, some of these dairy operations are gargantuan, and so yeah, with the subsidies, the price of that is way cheaper, and it's. So I guess with my question then, how are you guys going about that with your customer base, and then just marketing what you're doing? Because I've noticed this too. I'm not trying to black pill in a lot of ways, but when I first started my business and would share everything, so many people are so outspoken and for it, but then when push comes to shove, they don't support. Or like, for example, with food, for example, they'll still support a large conglomerate rather than locally. So how are you guys going about that from the financial aspect?
Yeah, we're still sorting it out, honestly. And we are positioning ourselves as a sort of premium brand in that our sourcing is really high quality. It's ironic that we're calling ourselves premium in a way, because it's ironic that premium nowadays is just equals just like high quality ingredients that are not full of chemicals and that are not coming from around the world. And
because it is more expensive.
It is more expensive. Yeah.
It shouldn't be. I mean, imagine if all of these subsidies were being pointed. I mean, what would the conversation around climate change, for example, be like if all of these subsidies were being pointed towards people that were actually healing the soil, and carbon capture on these farms is, a lot of them are carbon neutral because of the way that they're working the land actually captures more carbon, right?
Yeah.
So like if we were pointing all of these dollars, again, everything follows money, right? If we were pointing all these dollars in that direction of these small farms, what would the world look like then?
I just made a post recently on I saw an article with VCs funding lab grown meat and spending $1.6 billion. I saw that post. What if $1.6 billion went into regenerative agriculture?
Yeah, into the hands of farmers,
or subsidizing, or subsidizing big factory farmers to switch the way. They don't need to be put out of business. Let's teach them and help them go through the transition of doing things the right way.
Yeah,
right. I mean, it would be a much different world.
It's going to be a long journey, period, because our whole mindset also is. For hundreds of years, possibly thousands, like this kind of more colonizer mindset, like it's just, we've really lost touch with nature, which is like the natural way of operating in harmony and balance. And there's a lot of greed right now. And there's a lot of, okay, great. Well, people are buying grass fed now. So let's just buy a bunch of grass for our factory farms and then just feed them grass. And then great, we can market it as grass fed. And that's good. But no, like nature has cows in pastures, like in a whole ecosystem. It's not as simple as just like feeding cows grass. So To go back to your original question, there's really like two main pieces here. One of them is an education piece, and this is going to take time. It's going to take a while for us to consistently be out in the community, be out on social, be here on podcasts, letting people know about what it really takes to eat well and how to actually support the local food economy, and giving them an option that feels really good and that's easy for them. While we're doing that, we are in constant conversation about our prices. We're a premium brand, but we're not pricing so that we get rich.
Yeah.
We're literally pricing as low as we possibly can for people to still be able to purchase our products and for our business to stay in business. It's like if we were pricing with the same margins and markups as our competitors who are sourcing from factory farms or from all over the country, yeah, maybe then our prices would be 3 times higher. But people right now are not gonna buy that because there's all this misinformation. There's all these, you can buy a hamburger for like $2 at McDonald's, which is not really a hamburger. So we're pricing literally as low as we can for us to still operate as a business. Now that's still going to be higher than our competitors because our ingredients are really expensive, because they're not being subsidized and because they're using real ingredients and because there aren't 1,000 cows in one factory, but they actually have some space to live and have a good life. And then back to the education piece, I don't want to be complaining about this problem anymore. I want to be just part of the solution. And so here we are, here's an option. It can feel good. This company, Seasons, it's more than a food business. Like we have this cute little mini newspaper that goes out every week. It's called Seasons Greetings. It's actually printed on newsprint. It tells stories about the seasons, about local farmers, about local brands. We're partnering with really great other community,
other
businesses. We've had one big farm to table dinner party at Boggy Creek Farm. We plan to do more of those. And to me, for Seasons to be successful, essentially we have to rally a community of people, of supporters. And so this can't be something, I've seen a number of competitors go bankrupt because I know they were just pumping a lot of money into Meta. They were just trying to get their meal service. They were just trying to get a bunch of customers by buying them with Instagram ads. We haven't put a single dollar into Instagram ad.
Yeah.
I want our marketing dollars to go into making food and having events and educating people, nourishing our community, and supporting our farmers.
Yeah, bringing people together.
Jason, I have a question for you on just the prepping itself, because there's so many different food delivery services. But then, this is what I like about the glass topic too. A lot of them will come in plastic containers that you just reheat up. A lot of them don't have really good ingredients, and they have gums and preservatives and all kinds of other madness. How do you approach how you go about, just the meals that you're providing each week?
Right. Yeah. So, it's sort of a tiered sourcing structure, right? So top of the pyramid is hyper local, organic, regenerative, all the things. And then the next level is local. And then the next level is Texas, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a shout out to Farm to Table. There's a cool company here called Farm to Table that's been around for, I guess probably over 20 years now. And they're just a big purveyor. They have relationships with farms all over the state. And they source and bring everything to their location here, their facility here in Austin, and then distribute to restaurants wholesale. So they're a great resource. They allow a lot of us to get a lot of things either locally or regionally that we wouldn't have access to otherwise. We have some direct relationships with farmers as well. And then even, there are things staples that you need that maybe we can't get locally. Onions, for example, right? I'd rather buy those from a purveyor that's at least a local business, right? There's a, shout out to Segovia Produce. They're a family business that's been a food distributor in Austin for a long time. And so we just try to really focus. It really comes down to the area. We were just trying to keep our money in the hands of the people doing business around us.
Yeah.
You know? So if I had one farm that was next door that could give me everything I need, then that would be what I would do, you know? But it's just not possible or realistic.
And talk a little bit about this shift that we're making with the farm bundles, how that's going to support the farmers, how that's going to have to change our menu, and how also consumers are going to have to kind of change, their expectations of knowing what's on the menu.
So instead of, we kind of have made this sort of shift out of prepared full meals into sort of an a la carte model where we're going to have prepared proteins and then side dishes. So people can sort of pick and choose what they want. Right now, it's going to start out as bundles. You can buy the protein bundle, the side bundle. We will be moving into some more a la carte stuff as we go forward. But it just helps a lot with, first of all, dietary restrictions. Right? We're not trying to position ourselves as the keto company, the vegan company. We're not really going after the fad diet kind of thing. We just want to have real food that's prepared well, sourced locally, and that can fit anyone's diet. So this will give people the option to sort of pick and choose based on their own preferences. So I don't have to craft meals being like, everything has to be gluten-free or everything has to be wild. We want to respect those people's needs. This will allow them to sort of craft their services around what their own preferences are.
What I've seen Jason struggle with as the executive chef is you'll write a menu. So the expectation also today is people want to see a photo of their food before they are gonna eat it. So for a company like ours, that's pretty challenging because that means Jason has to write the menu about 10 days in advance. He has to order the food in a small quantity. We have to do a photo shoot of the food. We have to then take those orders, and then a few days before delivery, we have to hope that the food that's on the menu is still available locally. And that's where things go wrong because what Jason plans the menu 10 days out, and 4 days, then you might order the food 4 days before delivery, and in that 6-day window, the farmers no longer carry the eggplants. Yeah. They're done for the season, or there's just no more available. And so this is where we're introducing this new model, which we're a little bit nervous about, but also really excited about. And it's the reality is if we want to be hyper local, we can't plan the menu 10 days in advance. It's too far out. It has to be more like we plan the menu and then we order the food that day. And so we're actually asking our customers to trust us and to do these more like mystery bundle. Like this is your seasonal side bundle. It's going to come with the soup. It's going to come with the salad. It's going to come with some vegetable sides. It's going to come with a starch or a grain. Trust us that it's going to be really good. It's going to taste good. It's going to be really healthy and nourishing, but we can't tell you what it's going to be until like 4 days in advance. But we do need your business and we need your support and we need you to say, yes, go ahead and send it to me. Even before I know what's coming in it.
Yeah, we're leaning into it too. We're even starting to get.
That's a big risk.
I've been talking to a couple of our farms about just getting boxes that I don't even know what's going to be in them, right? So kind of like at my restaurant in Nantucket, right? Like we're going to get boxes, and we'll even lean into it maybe on socials and be like, hey, here we go. This is what we're getting this week. What are we going to do with it? Menu will drop in 2 days or whatever it is.
And that's what I'm actually most excited about working more in conjunction with the farmers and saying, hey, how can we support you? How can we limit the waste that you have? What are you not selling? What's really available right now? Send whatever you need to send to us, and we'll make it work and we'll put it in a dish.
And we're working with the cycles of, what's natural, right? We're not dictating
exactly
what we're going to have in 2 weeks, right? We're not saying this is what's on the menu. We're waiting to find out what we can have.
The rhythms of nature, the cycles of nature, the land is determining what our menu is. And that's natural. It's not like, well, we wanted to do this. And so, the eggplant's not available from Boggy Creek. Okay, so we're going to have to order it from a few states over. It's like, no, there's no eggplant. So that's okay. Eggplant's not on the menu today, but there were some really great rainbow carrots. So let's incorporate the carrots. But if we sold that one eggplant dish and people need the eggplant dish and then they're disappointed because it's a carrot dish, that doesn't help us. It doesn't help the local economy. It doesn't help the farmers. It's not realistic. It's not natural.
Yeah. No, I love that so much. I mean, that's why, just let me know any way I could help, because so part of the education I'm working on too is I want to help with folks that buy, for example, like a quarter cow or a half cow, and that comes with cuts that you might not be very familiar with, but those are delicious in themselves. And so having recipes for that. And I mean, just what I'm hearing from what you guys are wanting to do with this shift, it can really, people need to realize that there's just so much food out there that tastes so good that you're just not aware of, because we've been so used to literally processed junk. I mean, 70% of our food system is literally processed junk that did not exist 150 years ago. And so this way is it's a small step to a large shift in a lot of ways that really can get the wheel spinning in your head. It adds the connection back to just nature and your food. But then, I don't know, to me, it just gives you more deep appreciation for where your food came from and just for life as a whole. Because when I worked on that farm, there was more squash than I've ever seen in my life. There was literally, it's called Blue Hubbard, to where it looks like a blue dinosaur egg. They weigh like 20 pounds. And that's squash. And it's just, and it tasted great as soup. And so those mystery boxes is a really cool idea that I sincerely hope works, just because we need so many different ways to try to change the food system. And this is just one of those ways that can really help with that. I mean, even it's making me think right now. I remember the first time, so the farm I worked on, I keep going back to it. It's just such an incredible experience. For every dinner, you ate together as a group, and that included the farm owner and his family. And every night it was obviously different from whatever was in season. And just having those family meals together again after them cooking, that's something that most don't experience anymore. I mean, I hadn't experienced that since high school. I mean, especially with technology now, to where we eat in front of TVs and our phones and so busy that you're not even eating as a family. This could be another way to really bring back that. And I think that's just so cool. I'm trying to remember if I don't have any. I was hoping to have a question by the time I ended with that, but I don't.
Yeah, it's good.
I mean, I hope it works too. Like like Jeremiah was alluding to. It's an ask for people, right? We're asking people to trust us and to sort of go on this this journey, right? Like they're maybe going to be. We're so used to convenient. We're so used to Amazon. We're so used to one click this and that. And, we'll be asking people to maybe look at the menu one day and then look at the menu, go back and look at the menu another day and, consider more than once what they're going to eat, if they want it, all the things. I mean, it is an ask in this culture.
Right. And I would say it's not an unrealistic ask.
Well, it's not.
The ask is like, hey, this is the only real way for us to be able to support the local farmers and actually be completely local and seasonal. Because a lot of farm-to-table restaurants, for them to have a menu that stays the same, the only way for them to do that is to be sourcing non-locally. They might have, some main local proteins, and when they can, there's some supplemental stuff. But if there's a kale salad on the menu all year round, guaranteed that kale is not coming locally all year round, because it doesn't grow in one place all year round. So the ask is like, hey, if you really care about the environment and supporting the local food system, are you willing to bend a little bit? Okay, like maybe you wouldn't have just bought black bean, spiced black bean soup any day, but like that is what's on our menu this week, and it is nutritious and it is cooked well, and we recommend eating it, because also eating a variety of things, a diverse palate, is amazing for your microbiome. If that is cooked with real food, it's much better to be eating a lot of different things than to eat one thing.
The number's actually 30.
30 different
30 per week.
That's right. That's right. So actually, there you go. You might have the things that you stick to on a week to week basis. But if you go with our mystery bundle, our seasonal sides bundle, that number, you're going to get a lot closer to that 30 because there's going to be things in there that you might not have otherwise cooked, that you might not have otherwise bought, but it's going to be good and it's going to be nutrient dense.
Yeah. I mean, the hope is that it goes from an ask to like something that's actually exciting that people look forward to,
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I mean, I guess to end, if there's any last comments you'd like to add or plug or any potential other plans that y'all have, definitely feel free to share.
Yeah, I mean, the plan is to expand the offerings as much as we possibly can. We're talking about Local Pastures earlier. Shout out to Local Pastures. Also, we going to be partnering with them. We are already sourcing. Local Pastures is owned by 2 farms, and so we're already sourcing from both of those farms. So we'll have some products in Local Pastures.
That's great. I love both of them too.
Yeah. And we'll see. Like the more people we can get on board, the more things we can do. We definitely are going to try. We're trying to do events. We're trying to do some catering. We're trying to bring this to as many people as we possibly can.
Yeah, I would say, well, first of all, thank you so much for having us on here, and thank you for doing the amazing educational work that you're doing with Regenaissance. And for anyone listening, you're welcome to follow us on SeasonsATX. On Instagram, if you're in the Austin area, we'd love to serve you some food. That would be SeasonsATX.com to place your order. And then just to everybody else, what I want to leave you all with is just like buy local. Just support local as much as you can. If you're going into a big box store, just kind of pause for a second and be like, could I get this somewhere else? And and just know that the money, your hard-earned money that's in your pocket, that's in your bank account, it matters.
Every dollar is a vote.
Every dollar is a vote. And so, support your local business owner because we need it.
Love it. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Visit www.theregenaissance.co to learn more.